welcome to the CastOFF. This is the #1 recasting show on the internet where two contestants compete by recasting favorite actors in movies you love. I'm your host, Craig Price, and tonight is Boys Night, as two podcasters recast a slew of toxic masculinity in Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs. And from everything I learned from movies, we have Steve Kondrick. Steve, how are you, sir?
Hey, everybody. Doing good. How about you, Craig?
Long time no see. We just saw you 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, say.
And remind everybody how you did.
I lost.
Okay.
Yet again.
It was Mars Attacks.
The streak's still alive. Yeah.
It was Mars Attacks. That's okay. That was but it came down to the wire.
Close.
It was close. It was very, very close. And from the Clubhouse Podcast, we've got co-host, Rob Urban's co-host, Alex Barnhill. Alex, how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Don't worry, Steve. I got you on this one. I'm pretty sure you're going to beat me.
We'll see.
It's always good to have super confident people on the show. It really makes it an engaging situation.
This was a struggle bus.
Well, let's talk to Steve real quick, because apparently it's a struggle bus, and I don't want to be on the struggle bus yet. We'll take a second. Steve, May is right around the corner. It's April now, but we know that April is in full effect. But what's happening on in May? Is it Mayhem March or something, or Mayhem May?
Ooh, you're so close. It's actually Jason Matham over at Everything I Learned from Movies.
Jason Matham. All right.
The great actor Jason Statham will be featured for an entire month. Man, it's going to be great.
So is it all 3 Transporter movies and one other?
Actually, no Transporter movies. This is a little more select thing. We've got movies. We've got both Cranks. We've got. Remember, he was in The One.
No.
Him and Jet Li.
No. Don't remember that at all.
Yeah,
he was in Collateral. I mean, he was in Collateral with Tom Cruise for about 3 seconds at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that's not our kind of movie, though.
I know. All right. Well, let's go to someone who actually talks about the quality of pop culture, and that's Alex Barnhill over at the Clubhouse Podcast, where every week a slew of pop culture references and information is thrown like spaghetti to a wall.
That is a very accurate description, and sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't, but we keep on trying. I mean, it's been over a decade, so
and
looking at it, Jason Matham and no Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Come on, Steve.
Bad to questionable movies.
Yeah, no,
he does plenty of them. So.
Yeah, it's only the bottom of the barrel. So we hear Matinee Heroes go with the cream of the crop. There's still a lot of barrel left after that, and we don't want to throw. It's like, Dances with Wolves. We use all parts of the buffalo, and so thankfully Steve comes in, and Steve and Izzy scrape the bottom. But what's been going on with you guys over at the actually on the Cheap Podcast? You've got a lot of stuff going on because WrestleMania is running wild, my brother.
Oh yeah, we'll have me probably wanting to die based on how many things that we're covering or had covered, stretching at the end of March into the beginning of April with all of the events that are in DFW and all of the things that are coming around. Hopefully we get to talk to some really cool people. I bet we will. Don will actually probably be covering WrestleCon with us. So right after that, we'll be getting into full swing with Clubhouse and getting into some new material, and baseball should be here.
Oh, yeah, because when Rob was on previously, I was telling him off air that if they don't close it by the beginning of April, which we're at April now, and this is pre-recorded, so we don't actually know when the actual start date is. If they don't actually start or settle in April, I thought, oh, you're not going to see it till July, but it looks like they might actually get this done. So, hey,
well, there is an agreement. I don't know about the ratification.
Right, it hasn't been signed, sealed, or delivered yet.
April 17th, I believe, is the start of the season.
Okay, so we pay our taxes, and then we go suffer through a very weak beginning of the baseball season. April is the worst month because the pitchers are all doing well and nobody's hitting. But we have a real game to get to. we have something that people are interested in, and that is the cast-off. And the rules are fairly simple. As we start off, like I said, if I can get this going, we always have at least one glitch every show. So the rules are simple. We're going to show you a character in the movie, and you'll recast them with an actor of your choosing throughout time and space. So you're going to name that actor. The best choice gets 1 point. I'll be playing along as well, and if you pick the same one as me, you get a point. Often, my secret selection is the best choice, so that is a good way of getting 2 points if you start to fall behind. Person with the most points wins. If there's a tie, double feature to win, and we'll talk and explain that if and when that is necessary. But As always, this show is brought to you by Matinee Heroes, and this week we gamble on a movie we think you'll like but may not have seen, and that is, remember when Texas Hold'em was a thing? We're talking Rounders, the classic 90s movie with Matt Damon, Ed Norton, and more. You can head over to matineeheroes.com/subscribe to sign up for the feed. You can follow the podcast, and you can also hear tonight's post show exclusively on the audio version of CastOFF every Thursday in the Matinee Heroes feed. So head over to matineeheroes.com/subscribe, and while you're there, if you enjoy the show, you can go to matineeheroes.com/CastOFF, where you can subscribe to the video feed and get every episode. Well, are you guys ready to designate a color for yourself? And we'll try not to kill each other as we recast Reservoir Dogs. And we flip the coin. Steve, you have won. So before we start, what color are you going to be?
I'm going to go with Mr. Chartreuse.
Mr. Chartreuse. All right. That's going to be fun. Like they wouldn't make fun of Mr. Pink, but they're going to make fun of you. All right. So, Steve, we are going to go with the first person who is the de facto leader of the group, Harvey Keitel's Larry Dimmick, or Mr. White. So who do you have playing the cool, calm, collected awesomeness that is Harvey Keitel's Mr. White?
Well, I don't know. When I think of calm, cool, collected, I think like a early 90s Robert De Niro, like Goodfellas, Cape Fear, that time frame. I feel like he could take that role over and both be kind of mentor-like and fatherly, but also absolutely insane bank robber, and really pull it off.
Absolutely. I'm thinking more of a Heat kind of Robert De Niro, because
yeah.
where he was the kind of leader, except he didn't have any, he had no emotions. You got to walk away, man. Everything's got to be in a to-go bag. So, Steve,
even if you got Amy Brenneman.
Yeah, if you got Amy Brenneman, what else do you need, man? Well, apparently a lot more. Alex, you've got Robert De Niro, one of the greatest actors of a generation. Who do you have that could possibly be better than Robert De Niro?
That is a tough hill to climb. However, I was thinking of how Harvey Keitel always has this very gritty, dirty, while still being the guy who is in control despite being a complete psychopath, or excuse me, a sociopath based on the writings. And I went with Ian McShane. Because that guy can do everything.
He is known for his virtuosity in vulgarity. No one says the C word quite as good as Ian McShane. I won't say it here because we don't need to get the explicit content. But he is amazing in the John Wick movies. He's been great for years, and you've seen him in Sexy Beast and in Ransom. But I think a lot of people discovered him as an entity in Deadwood, and now he's really kicking it in American Gods. Oh, this one's going to be tough because we've got the great Robert De Niro, the great Ian McShane. The judges conferred, and this was a tight one. Ian McShane gets, and so Alex gets the point. I went with Oscar Isaac. I age him up a little bit. I think he could be the guy in charge. I feel he's got that cool factor, especially when you give him the gray hair. He from like Dune in that magnificent beard. So Alex, you are next. We've got. Next, we get the, at the time, relative unknown Tim Roth as Mr. Orange, or as we find out later, Agent Orange, Freddie Neuendijk. So who do you have playing Freddie?
Well, there's only one person that I feel could fit this role while portraying a crazy villain while also being undercover and in control, and that's Ed Norton.
Oh, Fight Club's Ed Norton, the Forgotten Hulk. Yes, absolutely. He's part of the MCU. We just don't want to actually talk about it. Maybe he's part of the multiverse. We'll see him in Doctor Strange. I don't know. He was in American History X, Fight Club, The Italian Job, but he's got a softer side, as we saw in Moonrise Kingdom, and he can also play an agent, as he was in The Red Dragon. So Ed Norton, yeah. Steve, who do you have to go up against Ed?
I mean,
right said Ed.
I could have been really nice and been like, is he the Forgotten Hulk or is Eric Bana? But
no, it's the MCU. We didn't ignore Eric Bana. We just decided to recast him. He's still part of the continuity.
Yeah, true. For Mr. Orange though, I want to go with an actor who always plays a little like young up and comer, like whatever role he's kind of in. I went with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, yes, the handsome number 2 guy. Yes, he's always the second guy. He's never the lead. He's always that handsome, as you have in this movie, second guy. We saw him in Looper, where he was second place to Bruce Willis. Inception, where he was second place to Leo DiCaprio. Second place in The Dark Knight Rises, actually third place between Heath Ledger and Christian Bale. 50-50, second place to Seth Rogen. Come on. And The Trial of Chicago 7, he was in 8th place. Poor guy. So, yes, but he's always that good-looking guy who's always the second banana. So we have Ed Norton versus Joseph Gordon-Levitt. The judges also found this a tight one, but Ed Norton gets it. So, Alex, you now have 2 points. You have taken a pretty good lead. I went with Sam Rockwell. I think Sam Rockwell would be really good in that role. He's great in everything. Next is the psychopath known as Mr. Blonde, a.k.a. Vic Vega, brother of Pulp Fiction's John Travolta's Vince Vega. So, Steve, who do you have playing John Travolta's brother from another mother? I don't know. Same mother, but apparently.
Well, looking at that picture, I was like, my pick's actually really good because you take that hairline all the way back and match the intensity and levity. I got to go with Jason Statham.
Yeah, you know how hard it is to find young pictures of Mike Madsen? Not easy. So Jason Statham, which you can see at Everything I Learned from Movies, Matham, known for the 8 anti-heroes, The Transporter. He was also in The Italian Job, which you're not doing. Hobbs and Shaw, which you're not doing.
We've already done.
Oh, you've already done those. The Meg, have you done The Meg?
The Meg is coming in Jason Matham, as well as The Mechanic Resurrection.
Oh, you're not doing The Mechanic because it was too good.
That's right.
I love that the quality standards over at the Everything I Learned from Movies. So, Alex, who do you have go against Jason Statham?
I had a really hard time with this because you can't just cast any psycho in the role of Mr. Blonde. There has to be that control that even, I want to say this was one of Madsen's first roles, if not his first role.
No, he had a couple. He had a couple.
Yeah,
Actually, he was very upset that Tim Roth, an unknown, was going to kill him. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. But I went with Michael Shannon.
Oh, yeah. Michael Shannon. Widely known psychopath. Known for being scary. But he was kind of meekish in Knives Out, but went straight back to form in The Shape of Water, Zod in Man of Steel. Apparently, he was in 8 Mile. I did not know that. He was in Vanilla Sky as a guard, and he was the young groom in Groundhog's Day. All right. So, Jason Statham, Michael Shannon. At no point in the history of the world did these two guys ever be considered for the same role. And we went with Jason Statham because apparently we want an action psycho. We don't want an actual psycho. I went with Tom Hardy, who is both an action psycho and an actual psycho. And it was very hard to find him in a tie and with no beard because he's pretty much a gruff-looking guy. Mm-hmm. Next is Chris Penn as the not-so-nice guy Eddie. He is the son of a gangster, and everyone thinks he's in a tracksuit. He looks like crap. It's the 80s. It's the 90s. What are you going to do? So, Alex, who do you have playing nice guy Eddie?
Well, this was another one that was a little bit tough because while everybody has a level of crazy in this movie, this is a character that's like crazy, but as soon as his father is around, he becomes this kind of wuss on some level. Plus, as scummy as he looks, I could only think of Tom Sizemore.
Tom Sizemore, often mistaken for Michael Madsen, which is I had to double check when I was doing the list because I was like, did he recast him as Vince? Nope. He's known for unstable characters. We saw him in Saving Private Ryan, Heat, Point Break, but also great movies like Passenger 57 because we always bet on black, and of course True Romance. Oh, and we got to go straight to your we got to go straight to your Nick Cage pick, Steve. Every time. What is going on? Oh, I'm hitting the wrong button. Every time you have Nicolas Cage. So explain why you want Nicolas Cage as the nice guy.
Well, I was thinking like 90s like Kiss of Death era Nicolas Cage. You know, he's also like Chris Penn from Hollywood royalty, known for being crazy, but also can just like flip it and be kind of docile. I was like, oh, whatever you say, Daddy, like that kind of stuff. But of course, it's Nicolas Cage. I had to work him in somehow. Greatest working actor.
And I know you're super excited for a movie that's going to be coming out next week. I can't remember. It's a very long title about the importance of some kind of talent. It's Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage.
The unbearable weight of massive talent.
The unbearable weight of massive talent.
Specifically for my birthday.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that movie. That looks great with Pedro Pascal. And in fact, I think they did some de-aging stuff, and I saw a clip where he looks like he is face-off Nicolas Cage in this movie for a moment. I don't know how that works, but we have Tom Sizemore. Steve goes with Nick Cage because he has to go with Nick Cage. And it finally pays off.
Yes!
Steve Kondrick has now come back and tied.
And Craig picked it as well. That's incredible.
Yeah, I did not pick it as well, but I did pick this. I did vote for him over Tom Sizemore, but I did not pick it. I went with Paul Dano, who, hey, wait a second. Is that Paul Dano? Or is that Paul Dano? I don't know. You look so much like Paul Dano now. He's got the same face. I don't know.
Yeah, he just needs to grow that facial hair a little bit. That's
all. Oh, and he looks extra doughy in the Batman. So you've out-thinned him. You both have a very similar face. Well, now we're gonna get to talking about similar faces. We're gonna get to fast talking Mr. Pink, who, I'll be honest with you, for most of the 90s, I looked like his son. He very much looked like me. I had the goatee. I had just nothing I could do. We both have the same horrible baggy eyes. And so people go, you look like Steve Buscemi. And I'm like, great. I look like the ugliest man in the history of cinema who's a celebrity. Great. I appreciate that. So since we're talking Steve Buscemi, we have to go with Steve Kondrick. Who do you have as Mr. Pink?
Well, when I think of fast talkers and, Craig Price doppelgangers, I think of Joey Pantaliano.
Joey Pants! Oh, and I had to get a young picture of Joey Pants because it's although this is great. Obviously, he's known for his sleazy underlings in The Matrix, Running Scared, The Fugitive, Midnight Run, and Memento. Almost got the not the trifecta, but the quinella here because Midnight Run is the only one we have not done here on Matinee Heroes, and I've been pushing for it because I love that movie. So head over to matineeheroes.com/matineeheroes.com and go to the archives, and you'll see that 4 out of 5. So this is the closest we've had to sweep of cast-offs. All right, Joey Pants is great, but how can you possibly go against Joey Pants, Alex?
I'm a big fan of Joey Pants, but when I was closing my eyes and trying to think of this, I kept hearing Buscemi's voice at this time, and I kept thinking of Frank Whaley, and I'm like, no, there's a reason you can't use somebody who is that small because despite being that thin and that weird, he still has somewhat of an imposing figure for somebody robbing a bank. But you need somebody completely off the rails skeevy, so I went with Sacha Baron Cohen.
Oh, Sacha Baron Cohen, known for yelling, "My wife!" So from the Borat movies, he was in Sweeney Todd. He is the Lemur King in the Madagascar movies. You got to move it.
King Julian.
Yes,
yeah.
King Julian. And, of course, he was the nemesis in Talladega Nights, the legend, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. And he was in Les Miserables, not the good one. So we have Sacha Baron Cohen, Joey Pants. I mean, this was a no-brainer. You got to go Joey Pants. Joey Pants every day of the week. And Steve has taken over the lead for the first time. So you were down 2, and now you're up 1. I went with John Leguizamo because I wanted someone who was fast-talking and can still kind of be tough, even though he is tiny. I met him in December. He is shorter than me and does not look this young anymore.
But a phenomenal talent.
Oh, very talented gentleman. Very talented gentleman.
Was that from an interview for The Pest?
Something, I don't know.
Oh, that's terrible.
Well, next we get to the only real criminal in the movie, Mr. Blue, played by real-life convicted bank robber Edward Bunker. No relation to Edith. Alex, who do you have playing a real-life criminal who then is a criminal in the movie?
Well, the big thing about this, and I mentioned it right before we started, was there's only 5 seconds of screen time, but there's a lot of story told by that face. Yeah. And the two names that I had were Clint Eastwood, and I was like, no, you absolutely cannot do that because you'd be wondering where he is the rest of the movie. But Charles Bronson's face tells that kind of a story of a man who's been through something.
Absolutely. Stony tough guy, Charles Bronson, from The Dirty Dozen, The Magnificent Seven, The Great Escape, the Deshwith movies, and of course he played Igor in House of Wax in the 50s, that Vincent Price classic, when he was Charles Bravonsky or something like that. His totally different name. Very good, going old school on that one. So
absolutely, great pick.
Yeah, it was a really good one. I like going when you go old school. Steve, who do you have going against Charlie Bronson?
Well, I went with a convicted felon who's also died the most times on screen, Sir Danny Trejo.
Yeah, you know this because I think you picked him last time for Mars Attacks, didn't you? Or someone else did.
I sure did.
Yeah, you did. So you pretty much recycled your Mars Attacks list, hoping that it would work. But yes, he is the most on-screen deaths from Heat, Machete Kills, Dusk Till Dawn, Spy Kids, and also short, like John Leguizamo. Got to meet him as well in Houston. A very nice guy. And if you're ever in Los Angeles, please, I get no money for this, and he does not sponsor the shows, but go to Trejo's Tacos. Very good. The sauce is amazing. And if you want to sponsor the show, Danny, just give me a call. All right. We have Charles Bronson, Danny Trejo. I mean, if you're going to go all this way to hire a real convicted criminal, let's go with a real convicted criminal. Danny Trejo. Proof that it doesn't matter how you start in life, it's how you end. And he's one of the few people that really has turned his life around and is very uplifting and someone you can really believe in. Other people, they slip around here and there, but he's really done a number of restoring himself and being a really good citizen.
Absolutely. So
Steve is up 4-2. Now, Alex, you are still in this because there's still 2 points on the board, so we can at least tie because I went with Jonathan Banks. I mean, this was built for him. I mean, he's basically doing that role in Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, so why not?
I thought about that one, too.
Yeah.
Well, next we get to, I guess, failed Elvis impersonator, which is true. He did play an Elvis impersonator on The Golden Girls. But we have the director of the film and the worst actor of the bunch, even worse than, I think, Edward Bunker, notorious foot fetishist Quentin Tarantino as the crappy Mr. Brown. So, Steve, who do you have playing Mr. Brown?
Well, I was thinking of who would I like to see direct this this reboot and also have a cameo and stuff in it. Of course, I went with Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi, absolutely.
It's gonna be really weird when he starts saying the N-word 5 or 6 times, but he might do a little rewrite too.
Yeah, but it won't be as socially awkward as at least he's a person of color, unlike the lily white Quentin Tarantino. But yeah, Jojo Rabbit, What We Do in the Shadows. He's really good in everything he does. I'm watching Our Flag Means Death on HBO, where he plays Blackbeard. Oh, he's one of the guys whenever he's doing something I pay attention to. So I can't wait to see what he's up to. Alex, this is tough because you've got to outdo Taika Waititi, and you got to you also need to both pick. Someone has to pick against Taika Waititi. You've got to pick my pick, and my pick has to be the one that's chosen. So you have quite a hill to climb.
Oh, I feel like I can almost concede at this point because Taika Waititi's too likable not to pick. Even if this character is somebody who is wildly confident in their pervy explanations, despite being wildly wrong. And in that scummy vein, in this same era, I had to go with Christian Slater.
Christian Slater, known as the poor Nicholson Xerox. As you Xerox things, it degrades. He is a Xerox of Nicholson. We saw him in Heather's Interview with a Vampire, Pump Up the Volume, also in True Romance. So there's something you must have saw True Romance recently, because it's your second True Romance person. Let's see here. We've got Taika Waititi, Christian Slater. Like I said, I have to also pick Christian Slater, and the judges have had to pick Christian Slater. Almost impossible, which it is. Steve, you have won, and
Woo!
I went with Michael Pena, just to let people know. And that means that, Steve, since you are today's winner, you get today's final thought.
Oh, well, guys, first off, Craig, thank you for having me on. Alex, great picks. I'm not going to lie. Check us out over at Everything I Learned from Movies. We're having fun with April, going into Jason Matham, and who knows what in June. But yeah, just remember, movies are to have fun. Have fun with them. Watch Tubi. A lot of great stuff on there.
Watch Tubi. Yeah. I've never heard anybody. I haven't even seen Tubi promote themselves. So to have you do it, that's great, Steve. Awesome. Well, if you're not over at Tubi, head over to YouTube, which is like Tubi, and please subscribe. I don't know why, but we're actually going in reverse. We're losing subscribers. I don't know who. So we're still 20s odd shy of getting the magic URL. So please subscribe and comment on the things. We'd love to have you. We'd really appreciate it. But next week, we still have a show to do. But this one is an old show. It was live from LA Comic-Con in December when Sam Matos from You Versus Me went up against the lovely Heather Price from the Nerdy Bitches podcast to recast the Christmas holiday favorite, Batman Returns.
Nice.
Absolutely. Would you like to be a contestant? You can apply at matineeheroes.com/castoff or /application, or you can just email mhcastoff@gmail.com. You can follow us at the Castoff Show on Twitter. We have a Facebook group on Matinee Heroes. We have matineeheroes.com/castoff where you can find links to the video feed, including twitch.tv's Matinee Heroes. But on behalf of today's winner, Steve Kondrick, and of course, Alex Barnhill of the Clubhouse Podcast, I'm Craig Price. We'll see you next time on the Castoff.